Good afternoon, friends. We are learning our subject, that is data mining 3160714. And in that, we are learning our chapter 2, that is data pre-processing. Now, what we have studied in the previous lecture, that was wavelet transformation, isn't it? What we have done there? We have done the smoothing and difference, right? Recall this thing. Smoothing and difference. That's what we have done, right? So, we have taken the pairwise average and we have taken the difference of first number of pair with the calculated mean, right? And then we have represented that it as the transform factor, and what we get at the last, that we are writing in real number, that is as a vector, that is 2.75 minus 1.25, 0.5, 0, 0, minus 1 and 0, right? Now our wavelet coefficients, whatever wavelet transformation we have done, with that whatever vector we are getting, that we are representing in the form of hierarchical decomposition structure, also known as the error tree, right? So here whatever we got, those we are writing here, right? 2.75, 1.25, that is negative. Then we can say, what is that? 0.50, then 0, minus 1, minus 1, 0. For each and every label, we are writing, we are drawing the tree and writing the value, right? Then after, whatever numbers were there, that we are representing here. Okay. So what we say is, what it supposed, that's also we are showing here positive value, right? In what way we are going, that's what we are representing here. Fine. That is here, this is going for, you can say, plus, right? This 2.75 plus is there. This 0.5 is plus, 0 is plus. I mean, one side it is plus and second side it is negative. Not this original value, right? Not this original value. What we say is binary tree is there. Then we can say that left side is positive and right side is negative, right? So please do not confuse with the negative 1.25. So you will consider that this is negative. No, it is not. This is left hand side, this is positive, this is for negative, right? Okay, so this is the hierarchical decomposition structure, which is also known as the error tree, right? So this is the Hard wavelet coefficients. What we have considered, that was wavelet transform only. Now that we have represented in the form of hierarchical structure, and that is called as hard wavelet coefficients. Fine. Why we are having the wavelet transform? It is because it use the headship filters. It emphasizes region where points cluster. It suppresses weaker information in their boundaries. Effective removal of outliers. Insensitive to noise, insensitive to input order. Multi-resolution. It detects arbitrary shaped clusters at different scales. It is efficient. Why? Because complexity of it is order of n. But it is only applicable to low dimensional data. So now, next we want to learn is principal component analysis. What is that? with this, we are reducing the data, right? See, we are learning the data reduction techniques. In that, we are learning the dimensionality reduction, numerosity reduction, right? All the techniques we are learning, right? So here, find a projection that captures the largest amount of variation in data. What we want to do is the principal component analysis. Principal. We mean to say that the main person, right? For a college, what we say is main person whom you should meet is principal, right? Same way, what do we want to say is whatever is the main or major or important part, that's what we are trying to get here. Fine. This is the layman's concept. Now what do we say is find a projection that captures the largest amount of variation in data. We want to capture the variation. What sort of variation? Largest amount of variation in the data. The original data are projected onto a much smaller space, resulting in dimensionality reduction. We find the eigenvectors of the covariance matrix, and these eigenvectors define the new space. This eigenvectors concept you already studied in maths, right? So you can recall that. So you can have the idea. Now see here, what we are saying is x1 and x2 is there, right? What we are getting is, this is the space where we are getting the projection of our original data, right? Original data may be larger, but its projection that is in the smaller space. So we are getting the dimensionality reduction. So what are the steps of principal component analysis? For that we can say take the whole data set consisting of d plus 1 dimensions and ignore the labels such that our new data set becomes d-dimensional. What we are doing is, first of all, we have considered we are having d plus 1 dimensions. What we are doing is ignore the labels such that our new data set becomes d-dimensional. Okay, so one we have removed. Fine. Now compute the mean for every dimension of the whole data set. We want to find the data set's mean. I mean to say that for each and every dimension, for each and every column, we need to find the mean. Compute the covariance matrix of the whole data set. Covariance matrix we want to find. Then compute eigenvectors and corresponding eigenvalues. Sort the eigenvectors by decreasing eigenvalues and choose k eigenvectors with the largest eigenvalues to form D cross K dimensional matrix W. Right. Now what to do? That is use these D cross K eigenvector matrix to transform the samples onto the new subspace. Right. So mean we want to find. Then we can say covariance matrix of whole data set we want to find. Then eigenvectors, eigenvalues we need to find. Sort the eigenvectors by decreasing eigenvalues, right? So what do we say is this D cross K. K is eigenvectors, fine. So D cross K dimensional matrix, that is W. What we do with this? Use these D cross K eigenvector matrix to transform the samples, fine. Now, next, what we want to learn is CUR decomposition. So let us see what is that. A CUR matrix approximation is a set of three matrices that, when multiplied together, closely approximate a given matrix. A matrix, the original matrix, what do we want to say is, we are making the decomposition of it. That is, we are having say C, U and R. What we say is that when we multiply them together closely, approximate, we are getting the original matrix, right? Now, two key advantages, both stemming from the fact that the rows and columns come from the original matrix. The matrices are more interpretable. The meanings of rows and columns in the decomposed matrix are essentially the same as their meanings in the original matrix. Fine. So what do we do for that? Let us see. Usually the CUR is selected to be a rank K approximation of A, which means that A, M cross N matrix, C contains K columns of A, R contains K rows of A, and U is a K by K matrix. Fine. There are many possible CUR matrix approximations and many CUR matrix approximations for a given rank. And what do we say about the rank? The rank is rank of what? Rank of matrix is defined as maximum number of linearly dependent column vectors in the matrix, or second one is the maximum number of linearly independent row vectors in the matrix. Both definitions are equivalent for an R cross C matrix. If R is less than C, then maximum rank of matrix is R, right? See, this rank of matrix is already known to you. I have just shown you because you may have forgotten that, right? So what actually we want to do in this CUR decomposition is that original matrix, if say M cross N matrix, we want to have the matrix from this original matrix saying C, that is contains columns. C is the name comes from, it is taking the columns, R which is taking the rows, right? K rows, I mean C for K columns, R is for K rows, and U is a K by K matrix. Fine. So this is what we want to get. And do we have any rule for that? No, we can say many decompositions we can get with this particular rules. Fine. The CUR matrix approximation is often used as the low rank approximation of the matrices in principal component analysis, right? PCA, which we just have seen before this one, right? In PCA, each column of A contains a data sample. Thus, the matrix C is made of a subset of data samples. Similarly, the matrix R is made of a subset of variables. measured for each data sample. Now, we want to know about data mining primitives, languages, and system architectures. Why data mining primitives and languages? It is because finding all the patterns autonomously in a database, unrealistic because the patterns could be too many but uninteresting. So, data mining we should do and will be going for only interesting patterns, isn't it? Data mining should be an interactive process. That means user directs what to be mined. User must be provided with a set of primitives to be used to communicate with the data mining system. Incorporating these primitives in data mining query language. So, what is that? More flexible user interaction, foundation for design of graphical user interface, standardization of data mining industry and practice, right? Now, for providing the primitives, or we can say we want to get data, we are using data mining query language, right? We are using data mining query language. For our normal databases, we are using the SQL, right? Here we are using the DMQL, that is data mining query language. So what do we say about the motivation for that? A DMQL can provide the ability to support ad hoc and interactive data mining by providing a standardized language like SQL. Hope to achieve a similar effect like that SQL has on relational database. Foundation for system development and evolution. Who is the foundation? That is DMQL. Fine. It facilitates information exchange, technology transfer, commercialization, and wide acceptance. So, for design, what do we say? DMQL is designed with the primitives, right, which we have just described in the previous slide, right? What we have talked of. Let us see the language also and bit syntax also a little bit later. Or you can say in detail if you want, you can find, you can search in the Google for that. Let us now see data mining system architectures, coupling data mining system with DB or DW, that is database or data warehouse system. No coupling, that is flat file processing, not recommended. Loose coupling, fetching data from database or data warehouse. Semi-tight coupling, where we can say enhanced DM performance. DM is data mining performance. It provides efficient implementation. That is, uh, it provide efficient implement of few data mining primitives in BDW, that is sorting, indexing, aggregation, histogram analysis, multi-way join, pre-computation of some state functions. If you remember, when we are having the semi-tight coupling, what we have talked of is semi, not fully loose coupling, not tight coupling, but semi-tight coupling. In that, we can say we can have few determining primitives in database and data warehouse system. That is, some functionality of the database we are having, some functionality of data warehouse we are having, right? Because it is semi-tight coupling, not fully. Then we can say we are having say tight coupling. So there we can say a uniform information processing environment. If you are tightly coupled to database, then all the functionality of the database will be available to you. If you are having tight coupling with data warehouse, then the functionality, all the things will be available what we are having with our data warehouse. Right? DM is smoothly integrated into DB/DW system. Mining query is optimized based on mining query. Only that, indexing, query processing methods, etc. So what defines a data mining task? That is task relevant data, type of knowledge to be mined, background knowledge, pattern interestingness measures, and visualization of discovered patterns. Task relevant data, that is also said as mineable view. So what is that? Database or data warehouse name, database tables or data warehouse cubes, condition for data selection, relevant attributes or dimensions, data grouping criteria. So, kind of the knowledge to be mined here, the queries are given. So, we can have the idea how DMQL is used. Fine. We have talked of that the DMQL as well as the primitives related to that. Fine. So, that's what we are checking here. Say for characterization, those things also we'll see in the detail, but let us see the query. Say mine knowledge specification, that is equal to mine characteristics as pattern name. Analyze measures, right? Then we can say discrimination. Mine knowledge specification is equal to mine comparison as pattern name for target underscore class where target condition versus contrast class I where contrast condition I and analyze basis. Fine. So what we are doing here is we are looking at the syntax what DMQL is having. Fine. Now, mine comparison as purchase groups. That means, say, example for big spenders where average I dot price is greater than or equal to $100 versus budget spenders where average I dot price is less than $100. Analyze the count. See, this example, mind the comparison as purchase groups. What do we want to do there is, say, people are of different types and what we are doing is, we are grouping them according to the purchase category. So what do we say is, here we are having the condition for two types of purchase groups. One is big spenders. They spend too much. That is, here what condition we have considered is people who spend more than $100. We may have considered for month or you can say for day or whatever, right? Whatever is our condition. But the thing is, average I dot price is greater than or equal to $100. So those people will be considered as the big spenders, and versus what we are doing is budget spenders. People who are having fixed budgets when they are spending, what we say about them, the condition for them is average I dot price is less than whatever items we are purchasing, the price of that is less than $100, right? So those people are called the budget spenders. And what do we want to do is we want to analyze the count, whether the big spenders are more, or you can say budget spenders are more, or whatever is the comparison. Fine. Less or more or equal. Fine. So few more queries are there. That is say association. So how people do that? That is say mine associations as pattern name, matching meta pattern. So what we do over there, for example, mine associations as buying habits. We used to say from the first class of our data mining that buying habits, people purchase bread, purchase butter also, right? This is the buying habit, right? That is in pair they are purchasing these two products, right? So something like that. If it is the case, what do we say is, uh, if person purchase this, then person will purchase this. Yes, that is bread. If people purchase butter also they will purchase. Most of the cases it is true, isn't it? Same way, we can have say pairs. Like say for one item we say that bread implies butter. People who are purchasing bread will purchase butter. Same way, we can have the combo, that is people purchase bread and butter. Okay, so they are purchasing the tomato sauce also, right? So that is the associations, right? Based on the buying habits, right? Then after we can say classification. For that, what do we say is mine classification as pattern name, analyze classifying attribute or dimension. We should analyze the classifying attribute, whatever is given to us in the problem. Other patterns, that is for clustering, outlier analysis, prediction, and many more, right? Few syntax we have seen for DMQL, that is data mining query language, right? For our tools, whatever we are going to use in this particular subject, we are not going to write these queries, fine? But for knowledge, it is required. So next concept which we want to learn is discretization and concept hierarchy. Discretization is known to us, isn't it? What it does? It reduces the number of values for a given continuous attribute by dividing the range of the attribute into intervals. Interval labels can then be used to replace actual data values. So what is concept hierarchy? Let us check it out. It reduces the data by collecting and replacing low level concepts by higher level concepts. So what to do? What it says, low level concepts are replaced by the high level concepts. For example, say numeric values for the attribute age. Numeric values for attribute age. Age. Okay, what is your age? 18, 19, 20, right? What we do with that we will replace this age with its particular concept, the label, that is young, middle age or senior, right? We do that. But what do we do there is low level concept we will replace with high level. So do we have that thing here? Let us see a particular example. You can understand it very clearly, right? Let me show you that. You can say, ma'am, chapter is finished. Where is the example? We'll see that in the next chapter. Fine. So what we have learned in this particular chapter, data quality, cleaning, integration, reduction, transformation, and discretization, concept hierarchy generation. Let me tell you, at least let me tell you what it is. Fine. The references are there. You can see that letter. Fine. Let me show you for concept hierarchy. Okay. Here, let me say that first of all, we should increase the font also so we can see it properly. Fine. Okay. Now, if I say that Gujarat, what is it? It is a state. Surat, it is a city. Then, if I say Magdalla, that is area. Fine. So, what do we say? Magdalla is a small area of Surat city. Okay. Then we can say Surat is one part, or you can say one city of Gujarat, isn't it? So, which one is the higher concept? That is Gujarat, isn't it? It is the concept of state. Surat is concept of city and Magdalla is concept of area, right? Are you getting this? Now, what we want to do is, this is the hierarchy which is given to us. Now, what we do is, wherever we are having the data, that is, say, address which contains the Magdalla. If we replace that with Gujarat, if Magdalla is being replaced with Gujarat, what do we say is, we have replaced lower level concept with higher level concept, isn't it? And this is the concept hierarchy. Okay, so at least you get the idea about the concept hierarchy, isn't it? Let me open the third chapter. Third chapter, that is concept description and association rule mining. Fine. The third chapter we want to study in the subject of data mining, that is subject code 3160714. Okay. So this is the syllabus. Concept description in normal terms, you can say we have already seen the example. Yeah, we have seen the concept hierarchy. Now we want to learn the concept description. Okay, so to describe individual classes and concepts in summarized, concise and yet precise terms. Such descriptions of a class or a concept are called class or concept descriptions. For example, here if I want to represent the concept of cells, I'll say that, say, hardware vendor is there. So he is having, say, cells as computer, printer, mouse, and many other things, right? So that is the concept of cells, where we say that the basic concepts are say computer and printer, right? For this particular figure, we say we can have some more also. Scanner can be there, many other things can be there, right? We are only giving the description for this particular figure, right? Okay, so concept of cells for a particular hardware vendor. He is having say just now two components, or you can say two items. They are computer and printer, right? Now the budget, for that we can say that low budget is there and high budget is there, right? So now from the point of view of concept of our customer is having low budget and customer is having the high budget, right? We have the concepts where we say that concept of cells, where the hardware vendor considers computer and printer. For the concept of customer, what do we have is low budget and high budget, right? So based on the low budget or high budget, whether the person will purchase the computer or not, whether the person will purchase the printer or not, right? That will be decided based on particular algorithm, right? Now, concept hierarchy generation, what is that? Concept hierarchy organizes concepts. Whatever concepts are there, concept hierarchy organizes them, right? That is its attribute values hierarchically and is usually associated with each dimension in a data warehouse. Concept hierarchy facilitates drilling and rolling in data warehouses to view data in multiple granularity. Drilling. Drilling is the operation wherein we are going in detail of a particular concept. Drilling is going in deep of a particular concept. Suppose we are having a data cube and where you can say we are having city. We are having city. Now if we want to go in the detail of city, we can say we must have to consider the areas of it, isn't it? That is the bigger areas like say Salabat Pura or this Pura or that Pura, isn't it? For our own city. And what this paras, those will also be divided in the names of streets, isn't it? So what do we say about drilling? Drilling is going in the detail of a particular concept, isn't it? Then what do we say is concept hierarchy facilitate drilling, that is going in the deep, or you can say going in detail, and rolling in data warehouses. Rolling. Just now, if I am viewing the cube and you can say that in front of me, I am having one dimension. When I roll it, I will be able to see the other dimension, isn't it? The simple terms are there, isn't it? So, rolling in data warehouses to view data in multiple granularity. Fine. Concept hierarchy formation. Recursively, recursively reduce the data by collecting and replacing low level concepts by higher level concepts. Getting it? Low level concepts where we say that they are say numeric values like 15 is the age, 70 is the age, 80 is the age, right? So numeric values will be replaced with the higher level concept. It is the label of it. So you can say young, then middle age, then we can say old, or otherwise youth, adult, senior. Fine. So numeric values, whatever is the age. Now when we group it together, you can say it will make what? It will make youth, adult or senior, isn't it? Same way, if we are having say, cities together will make the state, right? So is a low level concept, and when we combine few cities, it will make the state. So that is the higher level concept. Right? Concept hierarchy can be automatically formed for both numeric and nominal data. Right? For numeric data, use discretization methods, isn't it? Now, as we are talking of since long, the example of street, city, state, right? Now, let us see the example in detail. Specification of a partial or total ordering of attributes explicitly at the schema level by users or experts. So, what do we say? We know that street is less than city, is less than state, is less than country, right? But do we have the relation between them? Yes, of course, we say that state is less than city, area wise, we can say. City is less than state, that is also area wise, and state is also less than country, that is also area wise, isn't it? So, what do we say is, for example, we can say Dummas Road is less than Surat, is less than Gujarat, is less than India. Very simple, isn't it? Specification of a hierarchy for a set of values by explicit data grouping is done, right? So what do we say? That Surat, comma Ahmedabad, comma Rajkot is less than Gujarat. It is but obvious, isn't it? Specification of only a partial set of attributes. Only street is less than city, isn't it? Only street is less than city. For example, Dummas Road is less than Surat. It is but obvious, isn't it? Because Dummas Road is part of the city. Automatic generation of hierarchies by the analysis of the number of distinct values. See how the concept hierarchies are generated. For that, we can say the automatic generation. See the concepts which are already known to us, for them, no issue, but automatic generation of hierarchies can be done using the analysis of the number of distinct values. So what? As for example, set of attributes for street, city, state, and country. Right? So let us check it out. Automatic concept hierarchy generation. We want to automatically generate the concept hierarchy based on the distinct values. Okay, so let us check it out. Some hierarchies can be automatically generated based on the analysis of the number of distinct values per attribute in the data set. The attribute with the most distinct values is placed at the lower level of the hierarchy. What it says? The attribute with the most distinct values is placed at the lowest level of the hierarchy. Exceptions we will see a bit later, but say for this particular example, country, province or state, city, state. Now, for country, we can say, let us consider the Asia continent. In that, how many countries we are having? For example, many are there. For example, suppose 15 distinct values are there. Then after, in those 15 countries, total, how many states are there? Let us have from one country, say 25 is there, from other country, say 25 is there, right? So we add it up. And what do we say is, what is the distinct values of state inside those countries? Isn't it? Those will be states. So we'll sum them up. Then after, cities inside this whole states. For Gujarat, say for example, 100 cities are there. For Rajasthan, say 100 cities are there. So what we do is we sum up for all these states, cities, for India, for other countries, for all the countries, whatever we have considered. Fine. So we'll be having the distinct values for that. In those cities, we count the number of streets available, right? For whole cities, for all states, for all countries, right? And when we do that, for example, here it is given that 15 distinct values are there for country. For state, we are having 65 distinct values. For city, we are having 3567 distinct values. For street, we are having 674,339 distinct values. So, what should we do? What is being said to us? That the attribute with the most distinct values is placed at the lowest level of hierarchy. Let us consider these values. Now, which one is having the most distinct values? That is 674,339, the biggest number. So, we'll put it at the lowest level. More than that, but if we consider the country, state and city, which one is having the most distinct values? That is the 3567. So we'll put it in the lowest level of country, state and city, right? Now, so these two are built. Now let us consider for these two. So country and state, who is having the most distinct value? That is for province or state. So we'll put it at the lower level, and no other comparison is there. So we'll be putting country at the highest level, right? So this is the automatic concept hierarchy generation using the number of distinct values per attribute. Fine. Now, is it applied to all types of concepts? No. The exceptions are there, and as for example, weekday, they are 7. You can say, okay, fine. But month, they are 12. So typically, the weekday is the lowest concept. According to what we understand is, first week is there, then after month is there, then after quarter is there, and then after year is there. So topmost should be year, right? But according to the distinct values, can we say this? Let me say, weekdays, they are 7, month 12, quarter 3, year 1. So can we say, based on the number, we will be able to have the concept hierarchy generation for this exception concepts? No, we cannot, isn't it? So what do we say? These are 7 distinct values. Year, right? Exceptions. What do we say is weekday, month, quarter, year. What did I say you is, typically it should be having year. Inside year we are having 3 quarter. Okay. Then after we are having weekday, and then after month. Why so? because weekday is having 7 number only. What we say is whichever is having most distinct value. That is, for month we are having 12 distinct values. For weekdays we are having 7 distinct values. For quarter we are having say 4 distinct values, and for year we are having say 1 distinct values. Okay, so what do we say? What do we say? We should say that year, that is the least distinct values comes at the top, or you can say whichever is having most distinct value, that is 12, that should come at the lowest level. Then after the next, that is above, that should be the 7, that is the weekdays. Then after we can say quarter, and then after the year. But is it right hierarchy? After weekday, month should be there. That is the lower level. Lowest level is month. Is it right? Obviously not. Right? So automatic concept hierarchy generation is not applied for the concepts like this, that is weekday, month, quarter, and year. Fine? So that's all for today.